Hi my dear students of Reiki. I'm preparing this video to answer some of the questions that have come up. I thought that it's a good idea to make a video so that maybe the answers can serve all of you. So I'm gonna start with the first question, which is, give me a second, which is, do you have any recommendations for how to Reiki my aura, specifically thinking about my back space here? Yes, I do. So if you want to Reiki the auric field, you can, once you establish the flow of Reiki in your hands, you can bring a Reiki shower on the back of your aura, so you can kind of open to the light of Reiki and then bring that light into the back of your auric space, kind of like a shower. Pour it on the back of the space. And you can also imagine that your psychic hands that are filled with the light of Reiki are going down and sort of making a cohesive layer in the back of your aura, kind of brushing it and feeling the gaps, feeling the holes, you know, just kind of like clearing everything and making it beautiful and cohesive. That's one way. You can really use your creativity. Once you begin the flow of Reiki, you can bless your hands, your psychic hands, maybe a brush, and just really go through the back of the auric field. You can also strengthen your tanden. This is after the Reiki has started flowing. You can breathe in and strengthen the tanden, and then as you breathe out, expand that light into your whole aura, the entire field. And so that's something I really love to do, is when after you're in gasho and you've established a flow, you inhale and you let your tanden strengthen, and then you exhale and that light flows into your entire auric field. Let's see the next question. Is there a benefit to standing versus sitting while doing self-healing? Can Reiki be done in motion? Yes. I'm reflecting that, yes, absolutely. In fact, Qigong is done in motion. I prefer sitting rather than standing. However, like I know even in Qigong, there's a standing meditation where you imagine you're holding the trunk of a tree, and you could do that while you've tapped into the light of Reiki. With that said, it's much easier to sit down and just kind of like place the hands on the positions, but I absolutely believe that it can also be done while you move. Okay, the next question is, how do we I think the question is not in front of me, but it was about how do we catch our ego? Like, how does it show up? And I just want to mention that the ego has a healthy side and an unhealthy side. And the unhealthy side is called the lower self, because that's the side that moves us away from love and compassion. And so the way that you typically, the way we think of ego versus spirit is, ego is restrictive, it's controlling, it induces judgment, fear, resentment, it's jealous, it's not empowering. So the voice of the ego is defensive a lot of times, in my opinion. It makes us tap into a victim mode, whereas the voice of spirit is empowering, it's expansive, it's permissive, it's loving, it's full of healthy boundaries, and yet it's compassionate. It helps us go above a situation and look at something from higher perspective. So I would say just like a simple example is when someone tells you you should do this, you must do this, if you don't do this, this will happen, right? That feels restrictive and controlling, and there's no empowerment in that model. Whereas the voice of spirit would say, this is beneficial for you. It's up to your sovereign will if you'd like to do this. It's your choice. Also, in interpersonal relationships, the ego the unhealthy ego, the lower self, gets triggered, and then it projects all kinds of insecurities and defensiveness, and it doesn't really even allow for healthy boundaries to be established. And that's really a nuance we need to be aware of, is, you know, we want to be loving and compassionate while maintaining healthy boundaries. So usually I catch my ego, like if I go to judgment or fear or resentment, or I get into victim mode, I usually know it's the voice of my ego that's speaking. And in that case, I meditate and I ask the voice of my spirit, my higher self, to guide me as to what is best in each situation. So I hope that helps. Okay. Another question we had was a student sees her inner child during the attunements, but this person had an amazing childhood. And so yeah, that's very normal. My inner child, my happiest memories are swimming in my backyard. When I was little, I swam like hours and hours in the summer. I love being in water. And I often see my happy 9-year-old under the water in attunements. For me, it represents freedom. It represents breaking out of conditioning. It represents the fact that Reiki helps me tap into my inner joy and my inner child, my happy inner child. So sometimes our inner parts in trauma can come to surface, and sometimes our inner parts that remind us of the feeling of joy and wholeness can come to surface. That's very normal. Another question was on resistance during attunements. Is it normal? How do we manage it? And yes, of course it's normal. Imagine like our whole life, in a way, the attunements are a reminder of it's like a trigger, it's like a light switch of come back home, come back to your wholeness, your original blueprint. You deserve amazing things. You are a manifestation of the divine in a human body on the planet. And the soul, those aspects of us that have wounding, are resistant to that, and depending on what core beliefs are beneath that resistance. So how do we handle it? My philosophy is see it for what it is, without judgment, without too much analysis. But when you sit in self-healing from that place of non-judgment and compassion and witnessing, ask the light of Reiki to break through the resistance, to transmute the resistance. There's nothing else to do. That virtue of acceptance with compassion helps us break through the resistance, because if you think about it, we are very complex beings. We have, epigenetics issues on the side of epigenetics and past life memories. we have memories of this life, and all of that, all of the core beliefs and all of the energies interplay, and they can present as resistance. So that's my guidance on resistance. I hope that is helpful. And another question I have is, when working with clients, does it depend on our intuition or higher guidance whether we work on the chakras or the aura versus the physical body? Or do you generally recommend both? I want to say that actually you're working with all of it. So it's all interdependent. Like, we're almost like a star constellation. So there is no separation between the chakras and the physical body and the aura. They're all interconnected. The auric field is like a radio transmission system. And so it receives stimuli from the environment and it emits from our being out. So it receives energy from the environment, it pulls it into the chakras then disseminate it into our organs and physical body. So I hope that helps, but it's really absolutely interconnected. So sometimes, yes, your higher self, your intuition says, put your hand here. And as you put your hand on the physical body, the aura is receiving it and the chakras are receiving it. Or sometimes your hands want to kind of hover a bit above the physical body in the auric field. But no matter where you're holding it, it's all absolutely interconnected. So where you place your hands is guided by your intuition, by your divine self. But all aspects of us are receiving the energetic shift. And then I have, I feel like my appetite has been changing while continuing to do the practice. Yes, your appetite changes. Often people eat more because they need to ground, and food is grounding. That's why it's so important for us to ground via other things, so we don't eat too much. But I usually eat a lot more when I'm doing energy work. Also, the type of foods that you eat change. Your body refuses, gradually as you do more and more Reiki, your body is going to refuse too much toxicity in terms of alcohol, in terms of caffeine, sugar, in terms of the type of foods that you eat. Your body is going to crave more and more whole foods. But the change in appetite often is a signal that you need grounding when we eat more, which is my case too. Okay, another profound question that I received. I've been thinking a lot about sexuality and spirituality. I know that sexuality and spirituality do not need to be mutually exclusive. However, I think there is a belief I'm noticing that emerges from Christian upbringing that being spiritual or doing energy healing work means that I cannot be a sexual being. I know that this is not true, and I'm working on shedding it, and yet it keeps coming up. Yes, so this has to do with programming and conditioning. When we are in our first 7 years of growing up, we are in a theta brainwave, which means we're highly suggestible. Not only that, our ancestors held these beliefs too. So the program often is that it's not safe to be spiritual and sexual at the same time. Or if you're sexual, you're not going to be close to the creator of all that is. You're not going to tap into your spiritual wisdom. This has to do with programming. It's a program. It's conditioning. If you watch the movie The Matrix, or like read George Orwell's book 1984. It's like we are conditioned to believe certain things that are not true, but these beliefs go into the subconscious mind and they operate in the background. In this case, you need to tap into what your divine wisdom is telling you. And in this case, my student is saying that their divine wisdom is saying it's not true, and it is not true. So to break this program, you want to set intention that it release on all levels of your being. Every time you sit in self-healing, ask that these programs having to do with sexuality and spirituality begin to shed on a childhood level, on an environmental conditioning level, on a genetic ancestral level, on a soul level, on a past life level. Shed the programming and call in a new program. I wanted to finish this video. My daughter has been playing this song in the car, and I hope I can find it, but if not, I will find it another time. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. It really has to do with programming. I hope it's this one. Give me 1 second. If not, I'll find it and I'll read it for you in our class. Let's see. I can't seem to find it right now. Oh, I found it. Okay, listen to these lyrics. My mama used to say, baby, make me proud. You've got such a pretty face, but such a dirty mouth. But how come when I tell you what's on my mind like men do, I'm called crazy? Crazy. This is not a love song. This is not a sing-along. But ladies, are you with me? I know that you're with me. Add a little sugar, they say. Be a little sweeter, they say. Gotta give and take, but I say, this time it's my way, all my way. Be a little proper, they say. Speak a little softer, they say. Gotta be a lady, but I say, this time it's my way, all my way. I'll do me, you do you. I don't need nobody's permission. I won't back down, win or lose. Oh yeah, one and only something. Anyway, it goes on and on. So I wanted to, because she's been playing this song in the car and I'm like, oh my God, this song is all about breaking programming, how girls are supposed to be in society. Be proper, be this, be sweeter, be this and that. And that kind of relates to this last question too, is it's our wisdom that determines what helps us tap into source energy. So that's really what I wanted to say about all of that. Remember, this is just my perception. It's not the absolute truth. Everything that I'm offering you is from my wisdom. And you always remember, take everything, receive the gifts of what I say, but also the ultimate answers always come from your divine wisdom. Always, always. All right, I love you. I hope you're sitting in practice these days. Maybe this weekend you can take some time every day and sit in self-healing. And with that, I'm going to close the video. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.